Welcome to Motivated by Love, hosted by Reverend Sheila Z, a show designed for people who want to grow spirit, soul, and body, reaching into the Word of God to bring maturity and encouragement. Motivated by Love, hosted by Reverend Sheila Z, edifying God's people to be all that He created them to be.
Welcome to Motivated by Love. I'm Pastor Sheila Zellers, and it is an honor for me to be with you today. It's always so amazing to me that God opens the airways for me to come and weekly be a part of your lives. And I just thank you for making this ministry and this time, taking the time out of your life to do so. I'm excited about our show today. I'm going to be talking with two special men. One I have known for many years, and he's been a dear supporter of my ministry, Radcliffe Weaver. And then the other young man that I would like to speak to today is Joseph Cofield. He is an educator. He has a dream, and he has a big dream to fulfill, and I am so grateful that I have been a part of just a small part of that dream. And so we're going to talk about the Constitution of the United States today. But I want to encourage you, go to our website, motivatedbylove.org, or to Facebook, Instagram. Also, you can find the new CD at Spotify or iTunes, and this is how we support the ministry. And you might want to see that we have the little USB. So the new CD, the last two CDs have been on the small USBs. So maybe you don't have a CD player in your car anymore. This is what you want to get. But you can get those on there. And that's how we make this ministry go around the world, is by you supporting it through prayer, through funds, and through just the love. If you have love offerings, you know, we just need you to help us and support this ministry, because we do it by faith, and that's what we do it for. But I want to speak to you today about something that I just became aware of in the last year. And this last year, I was made aware of the need to put the Constitution of the United States into the hands of fifth graders. And Joseph Cofield has been a man who has, for over now since 2009, he has made it his mission to bring and put in the fifth graders across the state of Florida in the hands of every fifth grader. Now you'll find out why as we do the interview. And then now he's taking it across the United States, that every fifth grader will get the 27 amendments that we go by in our Constitution. And so I want to tell you a little bit about Joseph before we get started. Joseph is a 15-year communicator of education. He is 21 years. He served in the U.S. Army, and then he now is at all times a volunteer, and his whole sole purpose of his mission is that he has a dream, and he believes that unless we get the Constitution in every hand of every fifth grader each year from this time forward, that truly the breakdown of America will be lost, and we will become a socialist nation. And when you hear this interview, you're going to want to be a part of this, and you'll want to support this ministry, and we will give you that information as we go. First of all, I'd like to thank both of you men for being here today.
Well, thank you, Reverend Sheila.
Rad, I would like to thank you personally for what you have done and what the support that you've been with me. I think we go back to about 2007, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
And we're 2000, and that's the same year, Joseph Cofield, that you had a vision from God. We call it a dream, but you had what you felt like when you were running a marathon. You felt like God spoke to you about the Constitution because of where you ended up. And you let that dream kind of die. You didn't let that vision live. But once again, God was very faithful to you to say to you in 2009, again, to remind you about the Constitution of the United States. And I just want to say what we have seen happen in these last, it's been 9 years.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, and you've seen great things, but you've had struggles. You've had fights, but you know what? You fought the good fight. We now have, and if you did not, in the state of Florida, every fifth grader this year in all 67 counties will get a Constitution booklet. Now, not all schools have them yet, but there is a school in every county that's getting them. Yes. So I want to back up. Joseph, I want you to tell me, how did you get this vision from God, this dream that you say, I have a dream, just like the great Martin Luther King, and we're going to be celebrating that he had a dream. And it's not about black, and it's not about white or Chinese or Israeli. It's about what America was built on, founded. You're a native North Carolinian, but you've been in Florida now for 22 years, and so you call the state your home, and you have been the teacher. You've won the Teacher Award of the Year. I mean, you have done so much as an educator, but why is this so important to you, and why do you feel that the Constitution is so important to the fifth graders of our nation?
And Miss Sheila, thank you for allowing me to come and to tell my story today about my vision, my dream of the United States Constitution. For me, I would like to say it started in 2007, but I got to confess, as a young student growing up in North Carolina, I enjoyed all of the social studies. It became easy for me because I believed in our country, and I believed so much that I became a soldier in 1976, and that instilled a lot in me about citizenship and about civic education. And when I got out of the United States Army, as you mentioned, I became a teacher for 15 years. And I did not know exactly what I wanted to do in social studies, but what I did know, in 2007, I got the honor of being selected as a Jane Madison Fellow. That means that I had a chance to come and get a master's degree, and I had an opportunity to go to Georgetown University, and it was in 2007. But something magically happened to me in 2009. I saw those fireworks going up in the air, and I said—
In Washington, D.C.,
In Washington,
right?
D.C. In Washington, D.C., and 4th of July, I would never forget that. And I made a vow on the bridge at Georgetown that I would come back to Naples, and I would do more than just educate my students. I would try to reach every single student, every single youth that I can come in contact with. And Sheila, that dream was dominant for a while, but God has a way of touching your heart. And I remember Isaiah. Since you're a reverend, if I happen to mix this up, please correct me. But I know in Isaiah, it said, who would go? Call me, I will go. So I felt not only a calling as an educator, I felt a calling as a child of God as well. And it became my call, it became my mission. And Sheila, let me tell you quickly, I'm a Toastmaster person. And it says, in order for you to understand where you're at, you got to go first to the future and then bring it back from the past, and then you can get where you're coming from. Well, in 2018, a survey was taken, and it said that only 28% of the American can identify the three branches of government.
Now, this is all Americans, not just children. We're talking adults.
We're talking about adults all of in the United States of America. I thought that was pitiful. And it also said that only 18% of the people have faith in the United States government. And I said, where are we going wrong? Because the same thing I was talking about in 2007, the same thing I was talking about in 2009, same thing that I set out to do in 2014, we still have issues here. As we go through this interview, I hope to tell you why it bothers me so much that I continue this mission today. And people say in 2014, when I only had about 10 of the 67 counties, they said, why can't you be content, Joseph, because you have Collier County and you have most of Southwest Florida. I said, if you had a child that did not have a Constitution booklet in your hand, and that child was yours, you would say something differently. Well, from 2014 to 2019, and to the point that I seen you, Sheila, it had been a struggle, but it has been okay because that struggle just made me stronger and made me understand that it's not this fast person that wins the race, but he that endures.
Person.
Yes.
Yes. Rad, now how did you meet up and how did you connect with Brother Joseph? We're going to go back to his story, but I want to know what part are you playing in this mission that he has?
Well, you have to realize that Joseph is a godly, humble man, like I told you before we started. And he goes to some of the Bible studies that I go to. And he started, notice this here badge there, he started selling those for $25 to help get the books of the Constitution to the children. And I bought one, but I didn't pay much attention to that. But then he spoke one time at one of these Men in the Mirror, which is at the Naples YMCA on Saturday mornings, and I listened and I found out I believe in this country so much that I feel that people are trying to destroy the Constitution. And here's a godly man trying to spread the Constitution to young people that want to learn. But by the time they get to university, if they don't learn, then they don't even know where New York or any place is on the map.
Right.
On a blank map, they can't point out the different great cities.
Joseph, now when we go back to the constitutional book that you're handing out, which is this, and I'm not giving it back, I'm keeping it, okay? But when you go to the fifth graders, why fifth graders?
Sheila, I am so glad you asked that question because I get asked so often, why the fifth grade? I just want you to know that I just didn't pick that from the top of my head. The state of Florida in the fifth grade said that fifth grade students must have an understanding of the United States Constitution. It's a basic understanding. But the problem, Sheila, is that from the fifth grade to the seventh grade, there's a lag. And we expect students to pass an end of course civic exam when there's a lag in between. And after the students are happy to pass the civic exam, they put that aside until they get to the 12th grade and then they get out and then get that diploma in their hand and then they face reality that know nothing about that Constitution. So I decided.
And when you say Constitution, they really know nothing about the government.
The government.
Right?
That is exactly.
Okay, the Constitution is what the government is to be ran by. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're saying 12th graders that graduate, they basically graduate with little or no knowledge of the three branches of the government, along with what the Constitution states about what the laws of our land and the founders of our fathers of our nation made our country upon. Correct?
Absolutely. That's
so
what I'm saying.
they get a touch of it in fifth grade. They get another test on it. So they get taught a little bit. They get tested. They get taught a little bit in seventh grade. They get tested. Right?
It is civic
so then,
test.
And then in 12th grade, they have to pass a certain amount of it in their SATs and different tests that they take. But they're not really taught it in the school per se, as a child raised in Florida. I was taught the government. We were taught about the history. We were taught those things. But now that's not what's happening, and they eliminate almost everything when it comes to what the teaching is. So when these kids get these booklets, they have them. But what makes it different that they have them in their hand?
So,
May I answer that question? Because my pedicurist in Naples, one time when I was having work done, she said, "What are you doing now?" And I mentioned Joseph Cofield and the Constitution. She says, "My three daughters, now she and her husband came from Vietnam. They had three children here, and they love the booklets. They've got personal, and they still study them now."
Well, and because they have to, if they're going to become,
they got their
if they're going to become citizens of the United States, they have to,
yes.
but they have to know that.
Yeah, yeah.
So if they have this simplifies it and makes it. I mean, I'm taking this with home because I want to be able to teach even my younger children, 2 and 3 and 4-year-old grandchildren, what we stand for, who we stand for, why we stand for them.
Okay.
But the fifth graders, when they've got these in their hands, how do we move on? The question.
Sheila, in my hand, you see, it's this benchmark that the state of Florida require our students to be able to master. The problem, Sheila, is that when you look at these 17 standards, the teachers have professed to have no time to do all of this. Now, I do not want to blame our system, and I tell you the same thing on this interview that I have told each of the last 3 Commissioner of Education. I would tell you the same thing that I have told Governor DeSantis and his representative Cochran, who will be coming here on February the 13th to honor our program, as a matter of fact, for the things that we have done in the area of the United States Constitution and civic education. I have taken these benchmarks, and I've given you a copy as well, that what these students are to master are supposed to have a solid foundation. Now, when you only have 1 hour dedicated to these 17 standards, it's not going to get done. And Sheila, if we have a moment, I've highlighted 4 of those standards that I think is critical for us. But the thing is, Sheila, that booklet that you have in your hand is very special, because what I did is I took a 5th grade teacher and we sat down for a year from 2014 to 2015 while I was doing my crack across the state of Florida. And we set up that booklet. If you look at it, it's a nice booklet, something that the kids will not throw away. But even more importantly, when you look in the middle of the page, in the middle of this booklet, it has 27 questions. And those 27 questions equate to what these standards right here would have covered for the 5th grade.
If they had been taught correctly.
If they've been taught correctly. And what I have understood from the time that I taught the students at Pelican Marsh in 2014, where those students gravitated towards that booklet and they kept it and they went on to the middle school, and a few of them that I met in the banks or in the Publix, they said, "Oh, Mom, Dad, that's that Constitution guy." And you know why that test was so easy? Because I knew every one of those questions that was in this book. And it said, what makes me so excited is the parent says, "You know what? I can't get my child to put that book down." And the other thing that I like about it is when I see kids now going to high school, they say, "Oh, I passed mine on to my sibling." But I said, you don't have to do that, because what's going to happen is we're going to give everybody one of those booklets. And Sheila, if you open that book just for 1 second and you turn to the first page, you see that the student actually get to put their name in that book.
Yes, they do.
That book
Right
is
there.
actually their booklet, and they get to carry it from the elementary school to middle school to high school. Now, Sheila, let me tell you what the real reason behind all this madness of mine is, because what happens is that when students learn something and they have a solid foundation, they keep building upon it. It's just like building a house. It's just like one time when I was in math class, and I really didn't like math, but I understood if I didn't know my multiplication tables, I couldn't do my other maths. And then I began to enjoy algebra and geometry. But just the same concept must happen with social studies and studying our United States government and our Constitution. When the kids get an understanding of it, they begin to be able to follow the current event on CNN or Fox or NBC and all those things. They'll be able to see the faults that the governments are having, because I do not want to run our government down, but every time I hear something on the television that's incorrect about the 3 branches of government, how they operating, we only have the first 3 articles, Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3. It gives the duties and responsibilities of the 3 branches of government. And when I see that we all get that all mixed up, you know what? I have kids that can pick up this thing and says, you know what? They're not doing it correctly. And that makes me feel really proud, because these kids are going to be able to increase that number of 26% that do not know the 3 branches of government. But we're going to go further than that. Sheila, what's going to happen is the kids are going to leave elementary school, they're going to be excited. They're going to go to middle school, and they're going to be even more excited, because they're going to be able to pass that civic required test. And then they're going to get to high school, and they're going to take these honor classes, those AP classes, and those dual enrollment classes. And the parents do not have to pay for all these freshman classes that the students have to take and do not get credit for it. Our kids are going to go to college prepared, because that little booklet that you have in your hand, they're going to be able to master not only the United States Constitution, but they're going to learn more about the way our government functions. They're going to learn about our U.S. history. They're going to learn about economics, and they're going to be able to follow current event. That is what drives me towards making sure that every child has one of those booklets. Because Sheila, what happens is when that child goes home, the parents also takes the opportunity to work with that child. How do I know this? Because I have the privilege of having 4 citizens get their citizenship test. And the citizen says, you know what? I understood those 100 questions now because I understood everything that was in this booklet here. And I said to myself, you know, it is not only the children in school, it's the parents, it's the community, and it's going to make better citizens from each and every one of us.
Well, you just said something that they're prepared. And I think they're not only prepared, but they are something intrinsic inside of them knows the truth, and the truth will set you free. And then they'll know when not to believe what liberal media is putting out on the airways. They'll say, wait a minute, I'm not going to believe the lie. I'm not going to fall for that, because they will be able to discern what the truth is. Now, there's not enough time in a 30-minute show to cover all what you did, but you went from each county in Florida. You went to all 67 counties, and you went before the school boards, you went before the educators, and you said, do you have anything like this? Do you have anything like this? And they didn't have anything like that. And that was what year did you make that first across Florida to do that?
2015. I made up my mind that I was going to go from Collier County to the Key West, all the way up to Nassau County, all the way to the Panhandle, and come back by the Gulf of Mexico and hit all those counties in between. I was going to do something that Lawton Child did not do. Lawton Child professed to have went across the entire state of Florida. But the problem is, he didn't go to each of the 67 counties. And I said, in order to get a buy-in with the superintendents and the school officials and the school board, I must look them in the face. I must tell them, this is Joseph Cofield and his vision and his dream.
So you're a teacher, you're a husband, you're a father, you're a teacher, you are an army, you're in the army, but basically you are a citizen of the United States. You don't have any purpose for doing this except for getting the truth of the Constitution into the hands of fifth graders that will change the world.
Absolutely. And Sheila, I want to show you this map of the state of Florida.
Hold it up to the camera.
When you look at it, it's blank on this side here. And what happened in 2015, I went to each of these.
So in 2015,
yes.
We're talking about 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
None of these cities had the Constitution in the hands of fifth graders.
None of these counties had Constitution booklets. And I not only talked to the superintendents, I talked to as many as mayors and as many as city councilmen as I could, but most importantly,
officials,
government officials. But most importantly, I talked to the parents. I talked to the common citizens. And each of the single thread that happened to be, I want my child to know more.
Now,
I want to know more.
I want to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but you do this out of the love for the Constitution.
Amen.
You don't have someone supporting you. It's all voluntary.
That is absolutely correct.
So anything you do, is done by people who see the goodness of what you're doing, and they give to you and they help you pay the way.
Absolutely.
So you don't have a foundation, you don't have, say, corporation backing you.
No,
it's you, Jesus, and Joseph, right?
That's a good way to put it.
Sheila, I'm glad you asked that as well, because it gives me the chance to tell you how God works. When I started on this journey, it was a one-person band. In 2014, I got 2 people that said, Joseph, you're killing yourself. Let me help you. And those 2 people decided they was gonna form a little committee. And when we got that little committee started, there was a lot of people that says, we cannot support you, Joseph, because you're not a nonprofit.
501c3.
And I beat my head together and I said, you know what? I don't even have money to start a nonprofit. And then I went into the community and I ran down these people that I knew that had more money than they know what to do with. And those was the foundations. So I went to the Collier County Community Foundation, and I said, you know, people are beating me up because I do not have a 501c3. They can't give me the money. And Sheila, I'm not bragging, because this is what God allowed me to do. I took $17,000 out of my own pocket because I wanted to convince the superintendents and the school officials that this could be done.
And it was needed.
And it was
Not
needed.
just done, but needed.
Amen.
And so, listen, I have to say, we only have 2 minutes to go. We're going to do a second show. Y'all guys, you got to hear the rest of the story. First of all, I want you to show the back. From 2014, all of a sudden, 2015, all of a sudden, with what he did, this is where all the Constitution is at almost every county it's in, almost every school. And we're believing, and now how many states?
Sheila, we have 5 states now that's on board. And I just got a message here from Virginia just a short moment ago. When are you going to give me my next 220 booklets? And I said, you know what? I'm getting them out of Prestige Printing, and they'll be on your way.
So we're going to do a second show, but I don't know if you're as excited as I am, but I'm excited about what God is doing through Brother Joseph Cofield, through his support group here with Radcliffe Weaver and my support system. I'm going to tell you, God wants to change America back to the heart of God, and the only way to do it is to make sure the Constitution is lived, breathed, and operating in our kids today. So stay tuned. Part 2 is going to be coming. I love you. Jesus Christ loves you. Remember, stay strong, stay in Jesus, and remember, He loves you. God bless you. Now, you can find my CDs at motivatedbylove.org. There's many of them there, from contemporary to country, so everyone can find something in the songs that we've done. There's 8 albums, 8 CDs now.
If I prayed 1,000 words, but I never spoke your name, I would find no power there. It would only be in vain. I will sing it out. I will shout it loud. I will never be ashamed. I will raise a sound. Let heaven shake the ground.
Sheila's from God, a devotional filled with practical yet inspirational teachings and real-life experiences with real-word application which will encourage the reader. Order your copy today at Amazon.com or motivatedbylove.org.
If Motivated by Love, hosted by Reverend Sheila Z, has been a blessing to you, you can make a tax-exempt donation at motivatedbylove.org or write MBL Ministries, 3485 Mercantile Avenue, Naples, Florida, 34104. For prayer, call 239-325-2740. That's 239-325-2740.